What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and tonight we're going to be talking about the Black Ops 6 Warzone Dark Ops challenges, which just got added with Season 1. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like, and I want to thank every single one of you for the crazy support on today's 7-hour-long Season 1 live stream. There was quite a bit that we got done, and I know things were a bit hectic since Season 1 actually dropped about 3 hours earlier than it was supposed to. We ended up improvising and still getting everything filmed that I had on my agenda. But with that, let's start off with a bit of good news. Since I'm aware the Warzone community is a bit divisive tonight, I feel like this happens nearly every year with the new Warzone integration. You have a bit of a mixed bag in terms of how the community is feeling about the brand new content. We'll circle back to more of the controversy on tomorrow's episode of the Bombshell podcast, but it was revealed earlier today that XP tokens that you may have had stocked up from MW3 and Warzone did indeed transfer into Black Ops 6 today, which means you can use them in multiplayer, zombies, or while you're playing Warzone. This is a crazy good change that is a bit different and not what I expected, considering a couple of weeks ago Detonated did reach out to Activision for comment on XP tokens, and we were told that XP tokens won't transfer from premium game to premium game. I'm not sure if they did just because someone like me has played Warzone, and maybe anybody out there who saw their XP tokens transfer also had played Warzone before and it kind of bridged the gap between MW3 and BO6, or that they just changed their mind on letting XP tokens transfer from other games under the Call of Duty HQ launcher. That's probably what ended up happening, but either way, this is great for those out there that weren't stocked up on XP tokens, whether it's from Monster, Little Caesars, or other promotions. Now, I also want to go into the new Warzone schedule because we got a calendar of all of the playlist rotations that we're going to be seeing here in Season 1, and it's important to note that as of now, just Urzikstan is playable for Battle Royale, while Area 99 is the only Resurgence map that will be in the game for the next couple of days. Rebirth is coming back with Omni movement support, but for those wondering what's going on with Fortune's Keep or Vandal, well, leakers out there on Twitter are suggesting those maps are going to come back at some point in the future. Take all rumors with a grain of salt. I personally think there's a good chance we see Fortune's Keep come back, since that was fairly popular for Resurgence and allowed for a 3-map rotation pool with the playlist. I don't think Vandal's going to return, but if it does, that's fine. I just think that when Verdansk rolls around at some point in maybe March, so what, around Season 3, that'll probably when Urzikstan ends up getting vaulted for good. But we're going to be looking at Battle Royale, all squad sizes on Urzikstan, from the 14th of November till the 18th, along with Resurgence and all squad sizes for Area 99, whereas Plunder Quads Urzikstan is still going to be playable. But beginning on the 18th of November until the 21st, you're still going to see all squad sizes for Urzikstan, all sizes for Area 99 Resurgence, but then Rebirth Island will join the mix for quads, while Plunder Urzikstan quads will remain playable. But the playlists for the next 2 weeks after that are also the same, with ranked play joining the mix at some point with Season 1 Reloaded, which right now is projected to be around December the 12th. But with that out the way and jumping straight into Dark Ops, this is a system we've never seen in Warzone before, but has been a system in Treyarch Call of Duty for several years now. I made a video a couple of weeks back talking about all of the campaign, multiplayer, and zombie Dark Ops challenges, and a little bit of advice on how to beat those challenges. But as far as the Warzone experience does go, here's our first challenge. We have Resourceful, get 3 kills without reloading in a single match. Obviously easy to do with a weapon that has a bigger magazine, like a light machine gun, for example. But we then have In the Hot Seat, kill an enemy while riding in a vehicle. So this challenge is probably easiest to do when you have a teammate driving the vehicle for you, and then you could just kind of lean out of the window and get a kill that way. Wouldn't recommend trying this any other way, to be honest. I think if you have a teammate just guiding you around towards where some of the enemies could be an easy opportunity to go ahead and get a kill while the vehicle is moving. But we then have the Instinctual Sniper, kill an enemy while hip firing with a sniper rifle. So that was actually not that difficult, especially on more of a close quarters map like Area 99. Get a sniper out, get an enemy that comes close to you, and if he's not a sweat and isn't using Omni movement all around you, then you could probably get a pretty easy hipfire kill if you just get up close towards the point blank range. So there you have it with that one. And again, when it says to get a kill in Warzone, you got to make sure if you down the player, you fully wipe them as well. I don't think it could be a case where somebody else downs the enemy for you, then you just wipe them. You got to get the full kill. But next up, we have Prison Trickster, perform a finishing move in the Gulag. So that's a little little bit more difficult, and again depends on the skill of the opponent you have in the gulag. If you could somehow throw smokes and sneak around where your opponent is, then yeah, if you can get behind them and get a finishing move done, then that'll be it. Obviously, going to the gulag requires you to die in a full match of Battle Royale. So then we have the Demolition's Improv calling card, requiring you to kill an enemy with a C4 or blast trap attached to a vehicle. So that one could also require some good teamwork if you manage to just throw a C4 or blast trap on a vehicle that's already kind of low health, and you have a teammate maybe drive towards where a bunch of enemies are, and hopefully those enemies aren't full plated with tempered, then you can set those explosives off, and that can hopefully down the enemy. And I'm assuming if you just finish them with your weapon, this should count, unless you have to have 2 explosives on you. Now we then have economic gunslinging. Get 5 headshots with pistols in a single match. So you want to make sure you give yourself plenty of time to get this one done right when you spawn in. You can find any pistol around some of the ground loot, or you can of course grab one from your loadout. And going for headshots isn't really for the faint of heart in Warzone. Obviously, if you go for headshots, it's easier to down somebody that way, especially if they have armor. But if you're going up against some not so skilled players, then using a pistol shouldn't be all that bad. But I wouldn't recommend going into larger squad size type modes to do this. I would say that's probably the most comfortable to do over in solos. But then we have death from above. Kill an enemy while driving a helicopter. So this could be a case where you're just flying a chopper, which they're actually excellent to fly in the new Warzone, by the way. It could be a case where you're flying the helicopter, and as an enemy is respawning in through Resurgence, or just flying through the air, you can just hit them with the helicopter and boom, you'll instantly unlock this calling card. I don't believe it could be a case where you could just shoot them from a helicopter as your teammate flies it. You got to make sure you actually hit them with the actual vehicle, which I suppose you can also just crash land the helicopter into a bunch of enemies that are roaming around on the ground. That could work and could be a strategy you guys try. But then we have the Scrappy Warrior Challenge. In Battle Royale or Resurgence, win the match without accessing your loadout. So in this case, play a traditional Battle Royale or play a match of Warzone as if you would play Blackout. Just worry about what you can find in your environment, which I do pretty often from time to time. I think I've mostly grabbed my loadout in some of my recent games of Warzone just because of the perks that I wanted. I could easily deal with some of the great loot that you can find around the environment. I would say they significantly improved ground loot in the Black Ops 6 Warzone compared to what we saw back in MW3 or 2. So this one also shouldn't be that bad. The most difficult part is just making sure you win that game. So I would recommend probably going in with the squad that maybe has their loadout, and then you could just be the one that doesn't have yours. Now next up we have Show Off. In Battle Royale or Resurgence, get a kill in the final circle with a Semtex or drill charge stick. So luckily it doesn't have to be the final enemy player alive, or else that would be a bit more difficult. But so long as it's very clear on your tech map that you're in the final circle, make sure you just full send and just spam as many Semtexes or drill charges as you can. Preferably hold on to a munitions box so that in case you guys aren't successful the first time when throwing some equipment, you can get some ammo that way. Continuously throw either the Semtex or the drill charge to make sure you guys get that kill. You got to make sure if you down the enemy with that equipment, you also finish them with it. So make sure you have at least more than one piece on your person so that you can make sure they die. But if they're the last person on their squad and you manage to stick them with the Semtex, they'll just insta-die and won't end up going down at all. But then we have the Surgical Victor. In Battle Royale or Resurgence, kill an enemy belonging to the last remaining squad with a throwing knife or a combat axe. So this one's a bit more difficult than the last challenge requiring a blast trap or a Semtex. You got to make sure you know who the final squad is and ensuring that you take out at least one person on that team with a throwing knife or combat axe. I'm assuming you got to make sure they're a little weak and then throw the throwing knife or combat axe at them to down them, and then again finish them with that piece of equipment. But then we have the Contract Completionist. Complete 5 contracts in a single Resurgence match. You can start this process right when you join in. There's plenty of contracts you can choose from. You can obviously choose some of the easier ones that don't involve bounties or anything else. You could just do scavengers or spy drones, something along those lines, like a recon, instead of going after, like I said, a bounty, which requires you to go after other real people. But we then have the Efficient Combatant. Get 10 kills without firing a gun in a single match. So this is going to require the use of melee weapons. Now obviously if you want to go ahead and use equipment, that should work and should not bug out the challenge itself. But then we have Strategic Tactician. Win a Battle Royale game with over 25 eliminations. So as of now, this can only be done over on Urzikstan. If Vandal comes back with BR support, then you can be in luck with that map instead. 25 eliminations is a lot to ask for. So obviously that's going to require you to use some of the best meta weapons in the game, unless you found a different strategy with something you're more comfortable with. But I posted a top 5 loadouts video for the first time earlier today on the channel, and it's of course relevant to both multiplayer and Warzone, but more so Warzone, right? If you go ahead and just play as aggressive as possible, preferably in a squad-based experience, right, with a good dedicated team that's helping you get those kills and isn't stealing them from you, keep popping UAVs, keep running meta weapons. We then have a graceful contender, get 5 kills without taking damage in a single game. So this is probably something easier to do towards the start of a match before players get decked out with tempered and their loadouts. If you guys jump in, maybe you third party other squads going after each other before they've gotten some good weapons, then you can probably get people from behind. You can get what are called clean kills, as we see already in multiplayer through that camel grind. I think even sniping could be a play so that you're pretty far away from where enemies could reach you and you can get the kill through that. But coming towards the end, we have Lowrider, kill 4 enemies while riding in a vehicle in a single match. So this is a similar challenge to what we talked about earlier, where you have to be in a moving vehicle and get that kill. This is a case where, again, you want to have a teammate driving the vehicle for you while you're just scoping around and just trying to shoot anybody you can while you're leaning out of a car window. I don't believe it's possible to just run them over and get the Dark Ops unlocked that way. But last and certainly not least, a Dark Ops challenge I didn't expect is Abyssal Horrors. Earn Abyss Camo on 33 weapons in Warzone. So this requires you to unlock the Warzone Mastery Camo. I went over every single Warzone Mastery Camo challenge in a video that's going to be linked down below. Use that video as reference in case you're in game and want to know what a certain challenge is and you don't feel like backing out, or you can just watch it before you hop in game without having to scroll through the menus to find a certain challenge for a particular weapon. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on every single Black Ops 6 Warzone Dark Ops challenge, which just got added into the game earlier today? Credit to Semtex Leaks for actually reporting all of them on Twitter a couple of hours ago. The community will of course come up with some pretty quick strategies to get some of these Dark Ops, as they already did with the other game modes. Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out everybody.